DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Monster Energy, Esport Management, and GGBet.
Salut! Welcome to the DreamHack Open. We are in Tour France and we're about to enter into our fourth and final best of three series of the day. And what a fabulous day it's been. There's been surprises, there's been some upsets, and there's been Carrigan, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And of course, all of these teams are hoping that they'll be taking our DreamHack Open trophy home. But who is going to be playing in tomorrow's Championship Sunday, as I keep calling it? Well, G2 and FrenchFrogs will both be hoping it's them. But FrenchFrogs, have they proved themselves yet? Because they won one best of one yesterday, and yes, it was against G2, but best of ones. That is when we see upsets happen, and now they need to prove themselves, Potter. And from what we saw yesterday, do you think they can?
You know, I think they can. As we spoke about FrenchFrogs, they looked like the best French team that we have in this tournament, so very surprisingly. Not only are they a newer team, though, but they looked like they had a very strong game plan. They didn't rush, they didn't lose to anti-ecos, all these weird, gimmicky things that teams are suffering from in this tournament. We didn't really see FrenchFrogs suffering those same things.
Well, let's take a look at how they got to this point, because we're going to take a closer look at Group B and the bracket. So here we go.
Yeah, we can see FrenchFrogs obviously falling to Avangard, but I think it was a pretty close affair. 16-13, if I'm not mistaken, and Dust 2, which is a pretty decent showing, all things considered, right? And of course, that big upset on Nuke, which was a rough game to watch, considering, you know, after seeing that game we just saw with Carrigan with a masterclass calling for mouse sports on Nuke, it was a very far cry from what we saw yesterday, which was kind of a little messy, so to speak. But coming to this, it's all about G2. We saw this today. We saw the best of G2 again today, and we also saw the worst of them earlier in the first map, where they lost that first game to Ghost, which you never should have lost that first map. They lost yesterday as well. At the same time, we saw when things get going for them, they can really click, and they were just dominating those final two maps, right? So which G2 are we going to be seeing right now? That's the big question here.
That definitely is the big question. The good news for G2 is Kenny S definitely woke up. He definitely woke up this morning. He was getting multi-kill after multi-kill in that Ghost series, so that definitely bodes well for G2.
He is looking quite happy today, and I like it when Kenny is happy. So let's recap, actually, really quickly, for anyone who missed G2 early today. What did they get right?
They got a lot of things right on those other two maps, right? The way they had those micro adjustments, the mid-round calling was really, really good. I think Shox is still calling right now for the team. So if that's the case, he had some very good. He was like able to gather whatever information he was able to glean from their opponents and able to make these really nice calls midway through a round, or even late in a round, and make it work. And of course, the fact that everyone else was fragging, I think we had Jax as well, was having a great game. Lucky has been comparatively quiet the entire day, but Jax is doing his work. Shox and Kenny is just not like vintage Shox and Kenny yet, but they don't have to play at that level to get these wins. And especially against a team like FrenchFrogs, they should, at least on paper, have this in the bag.
Definitely, and Lucky was definitely quiet throughout yesterday and this morning, but in that last map on Train, he woke up. I mean, I think he was nearly top fragging, so hopefully we see that form from Lucky continuously.
Well, given what happened last time we saw these two teams play, I should say, it was Nuke, it didn't go well. So do we think, well, it went well obviously for one of the teams, but do we think that G2 will ban it today?
I hope not. You know, Kenny S in that interview, he spoke about going back to the hotel, going over their mistakes, and really reviewing and analyzing their Nuke demo. And although he said that they made those same mistakes today on different maps, I hope that he understands that they were in the lead. They should have closed out that map. It was theirs to lose. And unfortunately, small, minor mistakes that are easily fixable is what plagued them.
I think we might see a Nuke ban come out from G2 later on. I think the first one's going to be Mirage, and I do believe Train should be banned by FrenchFrogs. These are the two perma bans. Oh no. Overpass ban. I expected the overpass ban to come in second later on for FrenchFrogs. The fact that they haven't gone for the train ban initially is a little surprising. And well, I was wrong. Nuke is going to be picked.
Nice.
And that's good though. That's them fixing their problems and saying, we're still going to play this map and we're going to beat you on this.
But Inferno did cause some issues for G2 earlier. But obviously, they've actually had a little bit of time to sort out their issues. So they should be warmed up on that one.
Yeah, and Vertigo ban. So this is the thing, right? I was expecting G2 to ban out Mirage and Nuke, but instead they're going to be banning out Vertigo here, and that makes sense because Vertigo is a map where if you're the more established team, if you're the team who are kind of the favorites here, you don't want to put that map in there. Now, yes, there is a chance that not even FrenchFrogs don't know this map that well, but you don't want that unknown factor coming in. I would rather, if FrenchFrog had picked Vertigo, I would have been impressed a little bit because let's be honest, their back's against a wall here. And yesterday's win, I don't want to call it a fluke, but it is kind of a little flukish, let's be honest. That's not a G2 we expected to come into this particular tournament, considering the recent results. So, yeah, there's pretty standard map bans overall.
I really appreciate G2's approach to this map ban veto. I mean, you can see that they didn't even ban Vertigo at first. They really bluffed it towards the FrenchFrogs and say, hey, you can pick it if you want. We got Nuke in our back pocket, and yeah, that's impressive.
That is impressive indeed, yeah.
Well, let's focus in a little bit more on FrenchFrogs. So, yesterday's match against Avanga, why did they lose it, Potter?
16-13 Dust 2, and they were from behind. They had to grind out those 13 rounds. And FrenchFrogs, actually, again, their approach to that T side, it's not easy hitting a bomb site on Dust 2, but they had two particular really solid smokes and really nice flashbangs. And that takes practice, that takes going in the server and dry running and understanding what each role on your team is gonna play. So that bodes well for them. However, they are still a newer team, and G2 on paper are still pound for pound better than them. So this should definitely be an uphill battle for FrenchFrogs, but if they play to the ability that they did yesterday, I think it should be a lot closer than we might think.
The problem here is the final map being Train, and that's because FrenchFrogs, they removed Overpass early on, allowing Train to go through, and that's a map that's a perma ban. It's pretty much a map they rarely play on, and if it goes to unless they're going to pull off a mouse sports on us and be like, oh yeah, we've been prepping secretly for it. Even if it goes to map number 3, I don't see G2 having a problem here, especially the way they demolished Ghost earlier on in Train. That was a great, both CT and T-side coming from G2, right? So this is rough for FrenchFrogs. I know we said this yesterday as well, but today I don't see any upsets happening.
Yeah, definitely. And you spoke about it a little bit earlier. We don't really know which G2 is going to show up. I mean, earlier today, just a couple hours ago, they played so well. And yesterday, they didn't really show up. And so it's a matter of questioning whether they're going to show up today for this series or not. But what's really nice for them is since Omnic has joined this G2 lineup, it seems like it's made some sort of resurgence. They definitely are focusing on their teamwork, and you can see it in those really sticky situations where they've lost 2 men down. There are so many scenarios where they won 3 versus 5s, 2 versus 5 versus the Ghost, and that really bodes well, specifically for Omnic and Kenny S.
Absolutely, that's one player, like everyone's obviously going to be talking about your Kenny S and Shoxy and everyone else, right? But Omnic has been the surprise player for me for G2's wins, especially today. Even in the map they lost, he was really, in my opinion, like the rock, so to speak, of the team, which is very surprising, right, when you have a Shox and a Kenny S in your team. So absolutely kudos to the guy. And even Jax and Lucky, that's the thing, if Omnic performs to that level consistently and Jax and Lucky just have to do their jobs, that's a pretty much a win condition for this team against a majority of the lineups playing in this tournament.
And the other thing G2 have is a 6th man. I say man, I could say everyone here in this building, because they are going to have a lot of fans who know them, who love them. So the FrenchFrogs, even though they're obviously French, it's in the name, they maybe don't have quite so many vocal supporters here. I could be wrong. I mean, Tor, you can disagree with me right now. You can hear me. So if I'm wrong, let me know.
Well, to be honest, here's the thing. If FrenchFrogs had gone for the logo that we wanted them to go with, I think they would have had better, maybe a baguette, maybe something meme, have fun, a Pepe meme or whatever on the logo. That would have been funny. People have be cheering for them. But yeah, I do agree with you, Frankie. I mean, you only have Kenny S and Shox, 2 of the most storied players in French Counter-Strike. You're going to have the entire crowd behind you.
And the thing is, right, G2, they're having a great day. Because if you follow League, you might know that in MSI, G2 have just got to the finals. They beat SKT. They shut down Faker. It was absolutely incredible. I know we're talking about Counter-Strike, but if G2 win this and get through to playoffs and then actually end up winning, it's going to be a phenomenal weekend for G2.
Which was so funny, because I forgot who it was. I think it's one of the HLTV guys. I think it was Lucas from HLTV tweeted out. That's when G2 lost the first map, and it's like, okay, G2's beating SKT in League in this tournament, and they just lost the first map to Ghost with a stand-in, so oh well.
Definitely huge differences there, for sure.
Shoxy and Haji, Potter. What are your thoughts?
You know, Haji yesterday, he was the man that was leading the pack for FrenchFrogs on Dust 2 towards that A. He was the man that was hiding behind those smokes, and he got a lot of opening kills. So definitely the win condition for FrenchFrogs coming into this series is to utilize Haji. Use him, send him out, create some openings, and on the other side of things is Shox. I mean, Shox is the player that everyone always speaks about, specifically when we're talking about the French scene. And in this tournament, I gotta say, I don't think he's performing quite to the reputation that he has. He's usually known for being such a clutch player and getting multi-kills after multi-kills, and I gotta say, he hasn't really had as much impact as I was expecting.
Well, that also could be the fact that, you know, as an in-game leader, as anyone who's been in-game leading ever in Counter-Strike would know, there is that extra added pressure, right? And that could be the problem here, because this team, like we've seen 2 different G2s so far in this tournament, and yes, it's not just about fragging, it's the way that, like we saw the calling that came out from him on Train and Dust 2, that's him putting a lot of cerebral work, and that can obviously affect your fragging capabilities as well.
So let's talk through our predictions then, because it's kind of the theme of the day. We seem to all be siding with each other.
I'm going to go with a French team here.
C'est un blague. C'est un mal blague, no.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a French team.
Okay. Yeah. And
Potter?
Sorry. I was just really unamused by that.
You know what? I'm going to go with FrenchFrogs.
Okay.
I'm going to go with FrenchFrogs.
Wow.
Really? Yeah, I'm going with
just because I
FrenchFrogs.
said that, I'm going to go with G2.
Okay, so G2,
Yeah.
FrenchFrogs. I'm going to say G2. What are you going to say, Dustin Vince?
I'll let you go first.
I'm going to say G2. I think you learn more from a loss than you do a win. I think they're going to bounce back with authority here, especially with Nuke being played. I'm going with what many people will assume are the favorites here.
I think G2 needs to win, otherwise we need to hit the panic button because there's something seriously wrong if they don't make the playoffs
That
in this
panic button's
tournament.
been hit a long time ago, Dust.
True.
That is true. We will see you very soon. We need to run off. Vite pas good. The show is about to start, so we'll over to you. Well, over to you.
Thank you very much.
You gotta love Frankie, man.
Indeed. However, what they're not going to be loving out in the crowd is that we are going to see some French players going home today. There is also a Belgian playing. David P is from Belgium. But it is 2 French teams, so I'm very curious as to where the crowd's going to be siding. I feel like G2, with the big names that they have, the likes of Shox and Kenny S, been around the block for so many
it's
times.
kind of a win-win because you're guaranteed one of them are going to the playoffs at least. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of nice. And I think what's also interesting about this matchup is this team's actually been trading games on each other lately. You know, during the Sydney qualifier, 3D Max actually, when they were still under that name, now, of course, they're FrenchFrogs, they actually beat G2 in a best-of-3, only to lose to them later on. And then, of course, we saw FrenchFrogs beating G2 on Nuke in overtime in the opening map of this tournament. So there's been some scrapping back and forth between these 2 teams. That's definitely something to keep an eye on as we head into Nuke, which is a ballsy call from G2 to pick this, given that it's not necessarily a great map for them, and FrenchFrogs actually like Nuke, and they lost to FrenchFrogs on Nuke earlier in the tournament. So that's always gutsy to make a pick like this.
Right, but I do feel like G2 have definitely gone back, watched the demos, got a lot of information as to how they ended up losing that, and they've plugged those gaps. But we'll have to wait and see, will this confidence backfire in their face? They're starting on the T side, saw Mouse Sports have a blinding T half earlier. G2 going to be hoping for more of the same. David P playing passive. Gonna get the reward? No, actually not. I thought he was definitely gonna come out ahead in that scrap, but Kenny S will claim his head, and in doing so, outside control is completely G2's now. It looks like they're gonna be pushing
maybe
downstairs.
not. Logan actually has chopped a couple of them down. Bomb has also been fumbled on the floor. They have to deal with Maka now, also pressuring from Hut. Starting to get some of these kills back, though, thanks to Shox and Lucky. It's all on Jing. He's been busted by Kenny S. So G2 do take it in the end, despite the fact that Logan did throw a wrench in things there for just a moment. It's also worth noting that when these teams played on this map earlier in the tournament, both of the teams' T sides were actually up to snuff. It was the CT side that struggled. So wonder if that will repeat itself as we get deeper into this one.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the dynamic of Nuke has changed, because of course at one stage it was so heavily CT-sided, and now you do start to see more holes poked in the armor when economy plays its pivotal role. So have to see if FrenchFrogs can get on top of this. They are going to go in for a force by Mag 7, Skeleton, a few pistols, but Shox straight downstairs into Secret is going to spot David. He throws out a nade of his own, but it is only Shox by himself for the time being, so that's going to definitely throw a wrench in the works for FrenchFrogs.
And FrenchFrogs heavily invested into this round. You see Maka on the Scout and Mag 7 on Logan, upgraded pistols elsewhere. Everyone has head armor except for Maka. They have a little bit of utility as well, so this is very heavy-handed and need to make something out of this. Otherwise, they're definitely full saving next, and G2 could jump up to 3-0. That would be a great start for them. Taking their time as they're looking to surgically split this upper bomb site through outside and lobby.
Agi playing possum behind the smoke, waiting for the trigger to be pulled. That nade a bit too shallow to cause any damage, and Jinx is going to piece out of ramp, give this up. It's been a bit slow around, but now David P finds Shocks out in the open. Downside for FrenchFrogs, this is only a Mac 10, it's not one of the rifles. And Jack's going to use his SMG to devastatingly strong effect. A bomb struck out and Squeaky. 30 seconds to go. Can Haji put any more bodies down? No. Lucky and Jack's going to dig them out of that very precarious position. And there is still enough time to retrieve the bomb and get it planted on A. David P's going to try and stop this from happening, but he's a bit too late to the call. And at this stage, surely G2 just close this up and take round 2 for themselves.
Not much FrenchFrogs could do in that round. Good attack from G2. Really the only thing they got was catching Shocks outside. That was a nice play, but they haven't got much off of it. But we see Jinx finding another kill. Might collect a gun, but only for Jack to clean it up in the end anyway from that extra cash off the Mac 10 and then trade to that AK. So 2-0 for G2, and money's not going to be there for FrenchFrogs, obviously, so they should be skating onto the 3-0 start any moment now.
Indeed, if this was more of a save round, we'd be saying how excellent that was for FrenchFrogs, but of course they did invest. So this next one should be a freebie. Seems like we do have some headsets off, so may have a momentary pause. And not much to break down so far, Dust, between these two teams. Obviously, with it being best of 3, Inferno next. Going to be the first time we get a chance to cast that here at DreamHack Tour, and then Train if we need a third deciding map.
I think one of the things I'm trying to keep my eyes open on is the idea that, when they picked up Amanek, they did an interview with Malek, the coach of G2, and they talked about how they wanted to configure the team now that Amanek was on board, and it was their intention to put Shocks in more central positions and be more of an entry fragger alongside Jax rather than Shocks kind of playing his classic edge of the map role, which he has done most of his career. He did entry frag in the past. That's actually how they won DreamHack Masters Malmo in 2017, was off of Shocks being more of an entry fragger and being more a part of the attack group, and now he's shifting back into that role again. And also Amanek is kind of a secondary caller, so he's adding a little bit to the strategy of the team. And I will say that when I watched G2 play their EPL group, which they won, by the way, over teams like Fnatic and Na'Vi to boot, they did look a lot more composed as a team as far as strategy. I mean, remember we watched them at the major when we were doing the No Majors Club. We just noted how G2 was just kind of running wild and didn't really have any structure to them at all. And I feel like they've started to kind of sort out a little bit of a better strategical foundation with this new lineup. So that's kind of what I want to see from G2 this year, because they've looked slow all tournament long, to be honest. I need to see them really rise to the occasion. Show me that form you showed me at the EPL group. That was just a month ago, where you were beating 2 top 10 teams in the world, including Na'Vi, who's top 3 in the world, to secure yourself a spot in those finals. But they've come into tours a little bit cold. So I want to see them live up to what I saw just weeks ago.
Yeah, there's certainly a high level of expectation for G2 in this game, although FrenchFrogs did claim the win on them on Nuke yesterday. At the end of the day, they do kind of come into this game with a bit of the pressure off their shoulders. No one really anticipated them to beat G2 coming into this. So if G2 lose, as you say, the panic button is not getting pushed, it's getting hammered into the ground.
Especially because there's not that much time to recover. They're going to Masters Dallas pretty much right after this. There's only maybe like 10 days in between, although maybe they get a little bit of practice in before traveling. Did obviously really well in an online qualifier to make it here. So, yeah, I mean, right now there's a lot of opportunities for G2 to finally take that step forward between Masters Dallas appears, between the EPL finals coming up, whatever else they can get their hands on. We're kind of waiting to see between Vitality and G2, can one of those teams finally bring the French scene back up on top and as a threatening team to make deep playoff runs, because we haven't had that in a while. I mean, it's been so long since we've really talked about a top French CS team in that same vein as they used to be. I mean, again, like outside of that 2017 Masters Malmo run that G2 had, there hasn't really been a lot of big results yet to speak of, and we want to see them get back on that track. And here, we're getting back onto the track of Nuke, finally, after a little bit of a pause.
We certainly are. Right back into the fray of G2. Again, as FrenchFrogs went for a force buy in the prior round, they're going to have very little to play with. Some upgraded pistols, but they've also hemorrhaged the first kill, and Shocks this time, not down secret, but outside, getting towards heaven. He's in the lockers. They would have heard that window being shot out. Not a great deal that FrenchFrogs can do about this. They've got 2 players up on A and 2 around ramp. Amanek waiting, biding his time, gonna get rewarded as Jinx slithers round the corner. There is some damage that's been inflicted to G2 though, to be fair. Amanek, Lucky, Shox have all taken a couple of bullets.
As we see Shox looking to position himself in heaven with this MAC-10. He should be cleaning up a kill. He knows that Logan's there. He popped off some shots at his teammate. So there it is. Shox again just printing money with that MAC-10. That's another kill. It's more than paid for itself. Now he's been able to farm so many extra dollars off this SMG. That's exactly what G2 want. Help build that economy early and often.
David P trying to fake as though he's going to control room, see if he can bait out one of these G2 players. They're not having any of it. Just a deagle to his name with a couple of grenades. Around $1,000 in total that he'll be looking to save. Can take that through into round 3, but this is going to put G2 in great shape at 3-0 in the lead. On a map they really struggled on yesterday. David P's coming out into a slaughter, actually gets killed by the bomb, so no bullets required in the end.
And they also held on to 3 AKs, and again, they had Shox farming a lot of cash with the MAC-10, so definitely a good look monetary-wise as well. We're also seeing Shox again start showing us that he can take those 4 positions and get those entries. I'm curious to see how he keeps that up when we start getting the rifle rounds. Again, their T-style was just fine yesterday on Nuke against FrenchFrogs, so I expect them to keep that up.
Nades being tossed outside. Jack's going to take this opportunity to be perched up on Silo. Can't see a great deal with smokes down.
Yeah, trying to get even more out of that MAC-10 so he can get some close-range fights. Try to milk it for all it's worth as he still sits on $4,900 in his bank account.
Taking it slower, FrenchFrogs. As are G2, maybe trying to wait until some of these grenades have been depleted. Only 2 smokes remaining, one's just been thrown out. Haji, the only player with a smoke. 2 flashes, no kits. G2 doing a very good job of just stalling this round as long as possible to get them in a stronger position. But David P, he's on the move and Jax is there. He's equal to the task. Are they going to be crossing without any smokes? No, they've just been deployed now. Haji's going to try and pull the trigger and see if he can get lucky. Does significant damage to Amanek, but of course, no way of knowing that for sure.
Good little play from G2. They put the smoke ball down but didn't commit to the cross, and they waited for someone from FrenchFrogs to take a peek, and it happens. Jack's going to reap the benefits of it. Lucky's still lurking over here at mini as the rest of his teammates is actually going towards lower, so he can really cut off rotates, but Jinx catches him pretty quickly. So keeps it at an even 4-on-4 as this bomb is certainly going to be planted any moment now at lower. Jax just wanting to make sure he can do it safely. Gets into the opposite corner, puts it down. What kind of retake can FrenchFrogs muster up? They do not have a kit. They have no utility.
Yeah, and with no finances either, it would do them well to just save.
Yeah.
Keep these 4 guns alive. Kenny S is going to stop it, though. 2 to his name. AK wouldn't be a bad pick. Jinx, it's labored. Shox as the MAC-10 at that range, doing far more damage than he should have. If Jinx stays here, I'm pretty sure he dies to the bomb with just 28 health, so he's going to have to start to move away. And that's into the arms of Amanek. So it does seem like Maka may be the only player that can save. There is Shox who's on the prowl with his MAC-10. Comes around and Maka misses. Is there going to be enough time for Shox? No. Maka will hold his ground. So only 1 AWP though, shimmying through into the next round. The rest of the team are going to be on very little.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to be able to do around that. Maybe some upgraded pistols at most. They actually get an XM on David P, so we can play top hut with it and try to get some close-range fights at the doors. Op is going to be there for Kenny S now, along with the AKs. They're building up substantial bank, too. They have so much reserve cash now, and they're up 4-0. This is a really good start for G2 on their map pick. Smoke wall down once again towards outside. Maka blocked off from being able to get any vision on any G2 members for now. Again, G2 not quick to go stairs right away. They're kind of stalling out, seeing if FrenchFrogs are going to make a mistake.
Smoke's all well and good, but there's still so much time to play with, and that was the only smoke they had in their possession. Once that clears, David P is going to have some action if Amanek decides to push. He's waiting, however. They must have a good read of the economy, knowing there's not a great deal that FrenchFrogs have to play with.
Yeah, G2 just taking it slow, making sure there's no CTs left outside. Lucky and company now starting to kind of stage up over towards the red box. Remember, Amanek's already towards lower halls. So it seems like I'm seeing a pattern of them do one smoke wall and then a second smoke wall later in the round. It's been kind of a constant we've seen here in the early part of the half, and now they will start committing towards lower. Kenny's leading the way with the AWP. David P is in a tricky position with this XM, though. He might be able to do something cool, unless he gets blindsided from the opposite direction.
30 seconds to go. G2 have got to get a move on. This may mean that they push through without checking one corner that will finalize this in favor of FrenchFrogs.
That's
the bomb
bomb
down in control room. And now Jinx and Maka, with little health to their name, just have to try and stall out this round as long as possible. Jinx, last hope, last beacon, is going to get destroyed, and G2 can breathe a collective sigh of relief.
That was almost a disaster. Running the clock and then having the bomb drop and window nowhere near the bomb plant zone of the site, that could have really thrown a wrench in things, but luckily G2 do recover it. Go up to 5-0. The buyback, though, from FrenchFrogs, including Maka back onto the AWP still. Augs will surround him along with the David P shotgun.
Here comes the turning up of the heat as Amanek and Jack perforate straight through onto the site, eradicating every CT in their wake. Love that they've changed up the dynamic and the speed of the round after being so slow. Completely caught FrenchFrogs off guard.
Yeah, FrenchFrogs even had pretty good utility there, but just didn't get it down. G2 stormed the gates. That's one of the great things about, even though they've made some role shifts, Lucky and company can still do some entry fragging. Lucky was actually the main entry fragger before they brought Amanek on board and put Shox in that role with Jack. So when they do these gather-ups and they start discharging a site together, everyone's capable of finding openings. This round it was Amanek and Jax doing the bulk of the work. But Lucky was definitely also there doing damage. So a nice little squeaky door explosion. Like you noted, it's a nice little pacing change after all the kind of two sets of smoke walls outside and playing into the late round. And again, I'm seeing a really good T-side so far from G2. Definitely, again, look a lot more composed and a lot more diverse since Amanek has made his appearance for them.
Timeout called from FrenchFrogs. Understandably, they've been under the cosh, to say it politely. It's been somewhat of a demolition job so far. Not sure what he's going to be having to say to the troops. I mean, is there anything that you can highlight that they could maybe turn this around with?
It's still really early, and I mean, we've only seen maybe 2 or 3 true gun rounds, so it's hard to really know what adjustments to make at this point. I mean, I don't know if they want to try to get a little bit more proactive towards outside, try to disrupt G2 a little bit. That's always an option. It's also an option to play some different crossfires towards lower halls once you start giving upstairs, try to catch G2 before they start making their way into lower. Finally getting some utility on Hut early as nice. Here goes a sneaky door explosion, and still the entries come G2's way, despite the fact they get shut down at Hut.
Yeah, it was looking pretty sketchy for a few moments there. They were lining up for FrenchFrogs, and the timeout simply hasn't really paid off. Or maybe, just maybe, there's a way back in. Hadji connects the bullet to the dome of Kenny. Shox returns the favor. And Jinx is going to save this AWP.
I mean, the thing is, that squeaky door explosion play is very common. So if you're going to put an incendiary on a Hut to block up that route, you also need to make sure that you're holding the squeaky push as well. And they're not doing that effectively at all on the FrenchFrog side. It's probably 2 or 3 times that we've seen G2 have their way with the upper bomb site via that squeaky door. So either counter smoke it, throw an incendiary there on top of having one Hut, have someone on top Hut gunning them down as they try to go vents. You got to do something, because you can't just let them keep getting clean entries like that.
And the scary part is, as we saw in the last matchup that we casted with Windigo, is if they do stack upper, then there's always that threat that G2 either pile down ramp or outside. and they're caught a man or two short. This is going to be in the back of their minds. This is really where the mind games come to the forefront.
Again, I don't even think it's necessarily stacking numbers. You just need to have better utility usage. That, or you need to have someone kind of at mini assisting and holding the squeaky push while also still being able to maybe give assistance towards the outside. Something needs to happen. David P will indeed be that one to go mini this time around. Exchanging of fire, but no one's really taken too much damage from it all. It's all fine. Shox has the AWP instead of Kenny S. That's a little bit interesting. Not sure if he just had a better spawn. Try to take a peek into ramp.
Slower paced again from G2. Molotov going to greet Mac up, misses his chance. Only took 18 damage somehow. I thought it'd be way more in the play.
That was a good calculated risk. Definitely could have netted him a really, really big result, and instead it's just no harm, no foul. He just backs up. Lives to fight another day. David P also in big garage, and now Maka transitions that AWP over towards ramp. I like how he repositions, but again, he's just not hitting the shots.
Shot between the two of them as a flashbang detonated in his eyes. Wiping away. The shadows, no death. Shox and Logan gonna trade out. That is the bomb down in Hut. Two players tagged up heavily in heaven. Sure, G2 have the player advantage, but for how long? Jack's trying to do what he can from main, but not spotting Logan just yet. Flashbang is good. David P now making a move around the back, and the two weakened Ts have been fully slaughtered. Shox and Jax fend off against David P and Hadji. Good Molotov into heaven, buys them up enough time to potentially get the bomb planted. That molly's no good. Doesn't actually land on heaven this time, but Jax cleans up on Hadji, leaving it all on David P. Gets that first chunk of damage across to Jax, but he's gonna return fire. G2 continue their win streak, 8 in a row.
Yeah, Maka had some chances. He did a really good job, you know, taking a peek outside, missing, but then repositioning ramp, but just didn't find anything. And Shox with the AWP is the one that was delivering blows instead. What a nasty shot on the Maka, by the way, there at the end. Didn't see it in person, but that replay, that's shocking. AWP goes back to the traditional hands of Kenny S going into this one. Not much for FrenchFrogs to use it around like this, just Maka's AWP and some upgraded pistols. They're trying something different by getting aggro outside. Doesn't net a result, but Maka's op does.
Maka explodes into the round with one. Untouched in return. 4-player stack. This is so risky. It could backfire. But Maka can only bag one. He needed his teammate of Jinx, I believe it was, to do a little bit better in that position. Has allowed the rest of the CTs now to rotate down to B site. They're getting an interesting crossfire established and some damage inflicted across the Jackson Kenny. But it's going to be post-plant.
Going to be a tough one to retake with no kit and only just a sparse amount of utility. Only one AK as well, and Kenny S has already sniffed out Logan on the ramp. That was the one heavy piece of firepower they had already off the board. Now just two kind of stuck here in the control room.
Both have Kevlar and pistols, but Dominic has the superior position. David P on the exit, no dice. G2, they are looking dominant right now, Dust.
Man, we have had some pretty dominant halves of Counter-Strike that we've casted today between Mouseporks wreaking havoc on Wendigo and now G2 giving a similar performance. Getting a little bit rotten for FrenchFrogs. They need to figure something out here quickly. Back onto the full buy again. Augs across the board, save for Maka, who's actually glass canning in this round.
Certainly impressive that G2, after getting upset on this map to FrenchFrogs, bounce back with authority. You did highlight, though, that both teams typically were better on their T half than their CT side.
At this point, it might not matter.
Exactly, that's the thing.
Might not be playing much CT side at this rate.
You could have a great T half if you don't get any rounds, doesn't matter. They've got to get at least 4, I would say, from here on out to stand a chance. And the way it's been going, doesn't look good. Solid start, though. David P eats 3/4 of his health in damage, but does trade across. There's Kenny. Gets the frag onto his opposite number of Maka. Jinx tagging Lucky. Throughout the map, FrenchFrogs are doing a chunk of damage.
Yeah, G2 are just poking and prodding everywhere, so I feel like FrenchFrogs don't really have a read on what G2's actual intention is. They're dealing with pressure outside, they're dealing with pressure still towards ramp. It's equal 4-on-4, but FrenchFrogs are the ones that are more stressed out by a 4-on-4 situation. They're the ones that have to really guesswork on their rotations unless they push for some information. Eventually, all of G2 will now gather up over towards outside. It seems like back halls is going to be the call, but they're running out of time. They need to move quickly here. This is where it gets dangerous because you're low on health on some players, and with this type of clock, if any one thing goes wrong, the round's done and dusted. Yeah, I figured I get to use that one once.
Last time it was Jinx who stood and nearly fought it off with 10 seconds to go. This time there's 4 players strong. David P's not even going to try and spray through that smoke to stop the bomb, so bit of an anticlimactic end to that stalemate. And it's gone from bad to worse if you're a FrenchFrogs fan because they are being boiled alive right now. Logan and Hadji just have to save. There's nothing else they can do.
That was a really weird 4-on-4 late round.
Right.
Like you said, they just allowed the plant. I guess they didn't want to spam the smoke to give away their position so they could have an easier time trying to work out the retake together. Isn't a bad thought, but just didn't work out. Amanek really mopped them up. Logan looking for exits here, does get one, and finds another as well, so at least holding on to this AUG. But it's getting to a point now where saving guns is just not good enough. You're down 10-0. You got to start taking some risks. I don't know what it would be, whether it's trying to, you know, move Maka around more with AWP, try to find picks, whether it's try to play aggressive inside hut or play aggressive outside. Something needs to change because playing standard has not gotten you anything. There's only even really been a couple of rounds that were even close. And they'll take some extra time to think about it.
Yeah, completely on board with them calling it a timeout. 10-0 stands against them. It is difficult to really pin down exactly what's been going wrong because it feels like everything, even Angels, has been working against them. I mean, there's 2 sides to the story. One is that G2 have played phenomenally well. The other is that FrenchFrogs simply haven't shown up yet. So that's going to have to change right here, right now.
Yeah, G2 have been really doing a good job kind of distributing pressure all across the map, not just one focal point. And their upper attacks have also been so efficient. As Jax will be leading this one through mini, catches the CT sleeping. Already a bad look to the start of this round for the FrenchFrogs.
Logan on top of Hunt, dropped down. That's such a strange decision. That vantage point could have yielded so much, maybe feeling pressured from main. But it's another capitulation. Another Molotov to greet them, getting too hot in heaven. Having to back out. And the end result will be very much the same, ladies and gentlemen. G2 steaming to an 11-0 lead. The only question, the only bit of excitement now in this round is, can FrenchFrogs save their 2 assault rifles? And with the amount of money, the sheer finances that G2 have, you better believe they're going to try and go and take these away from their countrymen.
Yep. We do see Amanek trying to run them down inside CT spawn. He's got Shocks with him as well. There's a little bit of a crossfire, but it's not going to matter. Amanek does find the head of Jinx. Shocks looking to gun down the last, and he doesn't get it, so nothing saved for FrenchFrogs. And one comment I do want to make as we do have Amanek on screen, he's starting to get comfortable on this team. You know, he joined G2 only just recently, had a couple of rougher times at that EPL group and at that one small event they played at, the Charroy Esports event. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. But this event so far, he has been pretty brilliant. And it's good to see that he's finally something, because I remember when he used to play for LDLC and even going back to the Misfit stage, you could see that he had some potential, and I'm glad he's realizing it on a French lineup like this.
Yeah, it's been a gradual warming up process with Amanek. I mean, Jackson lucky. Maybe not having the same level of impact. Jinx in this round, though, splatters Lucky's brains across the wall. Courtesy of his trusty sidearm, which is his primary in this case. Does now have Maka making a move up ramp to bolster this defense. Can also wrap around into heaven if he's called into action. G2, once again, slow and steady. Don't want to overstay their welcome or go too aggressive into a potential crossfire.
Yeah, this has kind of been their bread and butter, is a slower style, which is interesting for the players that make up this roster and what you're used to seeing from them through CSGO's past. But they've also changed it up when they've needed to with some faster upper plays. So they've called a good T side. It's not just been them out-fragging their opponent. They've made some good calls. Not quite the same level as Mouse Sports earlier, but still efficient.
XM for 2. Asking too much of David P. That's put his team into a good position, and there we go, FrenchFrogs. It may be slow, it may be delayed, but they have got themselves around.
And just kind of running into the trap was G2. Time running low, they're at a man disadvantage. They try to force something back, Halls, and they run into that shotgun in the corner. Just didn't expect that off angle. But back onto the full buys.
They could win out from here and pick up 4 rounds. There is still a bit of hope, albeit fleeting. Logan just making sure that there's going to be no vent dive, spamming up through the smoke. Another slow one.
Starting to get a little bit better with their utility on some of these choke points, and at least starting to slow G2 down. G2 already does have a couple of players pushed towards outside and into the back halls, though, and they're putting that pressure on ramp again, so they could be looking to split lower. KNES just looking to see if anyone's going to show themselves outside, see if he can't get that one little pick, get that man advantage. But everyone from FrenchFrogs is content just to kind of hide in the corners.
They want to make this a scrappy one, up close and personal. David P in Garage will be Shox's demise. Lucky now making the most of this momentary weakness on ramp by pushing in with the rest of his team. They're going to be able to get downstairs, but also pressure downstairs for Jinx from Heaven. So he's going to have to keep an eye on that one. KNES on David P, who hadn't munched an inch, but there's Maka returning instantly. Now G2 are in an odd position, all clumped up.
Yeah, trying to come up through Heaven now with the remaining forces. Logan is on the floor, focused on Hut. This will all come down to timing. Jack's going to help out with that big time with that play on the Haji. Now so much pressure is on Logan. It's too much. He's been overwhelmed. And so G2 are going to be looking to get this bomb down upper and trying to do a 3-on-2 post plant. CT's already coming through the vents, though, trying to disrupt things, but it's all gone wrong. All on Jinx now.
Who is going to go for this? I think they're just simply running out of rounds. Bomb hasn't been planted for too long. Could maybe make a go of this. Jack's going to have his head cut off. Amanek, though, round the side is going to strike. And FrenchFrogs' win streak was brief. Just the 1 round. 12-1 now to G2.
They looked in control of that. It really did come down to that 1 kill Jax got to kind of open up something towards upper as they flooded Heaven. Logan, again, just too many things to deal with at once. Those were the key kills that got G2 back into a round that FrenchFrogs were actually on top of. They did really well with David P and Maka outside to get themselves a slight advantage, but it still withers away in the end with just 2 rounds left to play, and G2 already up to 12. This is the most dominant half of CS we've seen all tournament, really.
It could get that much worse. Hanji, right idea, wrong placement. David P got 2 from a similar position earlier. Lightning will not strike twice. G2 looking absolutely solid right now. Maka down through ramp, Molotov to greet him. Gonna just about disperse. Does land that shot, but partially through the wall, I believe. And the only reason why Amanek is still standing at 19 HP. The Molotov placements are spot on, really stymieing and stalling FrenchFrogs from pushing in. And with these guns, I mean, they may just have to save again. It's depressing.
Oh, it is depressing when you have to save when you're already down 112 and you still feel like you can't go for the Hail Mary, which is what you need. You need rounds, but it's just not even close to being there. Aji just looking for Exis, does survive with this AUG for now. Max 7 farming some cash here. That's nice from Logan. That's going to be a lot of extra money he can use to help them get some guns the next round, but it's sad that's the most exciting thing they've shown us.
It sure is. A drop in the ocean. Sure, they're going to have a full assortment of weaponry, but the fact of the matter is they're 13-1 behind.
Like, this is the worst type of highlight clip ever. Like, yeah, I got 3 kills on a save. Awesome.
Still getting bodied, though, of course.
Yeah. Still just getting absolutely wrecked.
So can FrenchFrogs end the half with 2 rounds, or are GT going to continue to apply the pressure? They're going in for the jugular, having no chill. Want this over as fast as possible. Plus, they want to make a statement here. FrenchFrogs, you may have bested us one time. It will not happen again.
I think it also just means a lot for G2 after also kind of struggling a little bit in that first map against Ghost to finally kind of show what they're made of. Show us that that EPL result was not a fluke, that they are indeed a force to be reckoned with. This is definitely good evidence of it. They've really done... I mean, it's obvious that they played a good T side. They're up 13-1, but just the way that they did it was also quite nice to watch. It wasn't just brute force. There was actually some good shot calling involved.
Yeah, it was multifaceted. There was a lot of nuance to this T side. It wasn't just blunt force trauma. A lot of thought behind it too. Jax, AK headshot onto Maka. Jinx could stop this push, but only good for 1. And now Logan has to briskly move down ramp to try and catch them as they retreat away from the site. Molotov down there, walking over the coals, but he's going to be going down afterwards. 14-1, as dominant as you could really ask for, Dust. There's not much else to say.
Nope, the only thing left to say is we're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be bringing you the rest of this map, so stay tuned.
It's been bloody, it's been brutal, and it's been incredibly one-sided, with G2 rising to the top of Nuke. The question remains, can they fully sweep aside FrenchFrogs and get their beautiful revenge? Only 2 rounds shy, Dust. If they win this pistol, it's pretty much all over for FrenchFrogs. Jackson's shot's gonna get pushed, they're not gonna check the angle. But Jax can't capitalize, so 1-for-1 trade, honestly, is pretty solid for FrenchFrogs. It gives them the opportunity to get downstairs now and to pressure B, and it's just got a whole lot better.
Yeah, FrenchFrogs need something because their defense was worse in the Battle of Winterfell. So, had to throw that one in there at some point. We do see G2 on top of things in this round, at least when it comes to the man advantage, but they have to deal with this bomb plant now.
David P with the Glock up close. This is really where the gun shines, and he will get 2. The effervescence of the play may overshadow this horrific scoreline. Maybe not if Amanek can somehow pull this out the bag. It's all down to Hadji. Doesn't have a kit and doesn't have any life left. There we go, FrenchFrogs. They're not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, not sure yet. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like the bare minimum, just to keep you afloat, just to keep you treading water. At least they're going to hang around, because otherwise it's basically dunzo, right? It's map point for G2. You're going to be force buying against a better equipped team, and it would have been GG. So at least now they're still afloat. Obviously, G2 are just going to take things conservatively here. No crazy force buying, just Deagles, no armor, no utility. Amanek trying to do something a little bit fancy there. Didn't quite work out. No harm, no foul. They're so far ahead that little errors like that aren't really going to matter too much.
Certainly not right now, but if this does get closer, I expect to see G2 play a lot more safe. FrenchFrogs have the luxury of having a superior firepower, but as you highlighted, really no room for error. The pressure is going to continually stack as this game goes forward. Jax, close range with a Desert Eagle's going to get 2. I think the kill onto Logan was through Maka's head.
Yeah, that could have been a 2-for-1 Deag right there. I'm not really sure. Maybe a replay will show us, but makes things interesting now. I thought FrenchFrogs was just going to run away with this because G2 didn't force buy. Remember that. But look at this. Oh, I thought Kenny was actually going to get that one. He does a lot of damage, but not quite. So FrenchFrogs are now starting to recover from the whirlpool that was this round just moments ago. Lucky and Shox, though, still do have Deagles. It might still cause a little bit of problems.
Shox tries his hand through the smoke, but no one's there. Gonna get sprayed. Lives by it and dies by it. Lucky. A Desert Eagle, can he pick up from where Jax left off? Looking for a pixel, looking for anything to work from here. It's been barren. The opportunities, nothing but a drought. And David P will put an end to his life. So 3 rounds now, but G2, as a result of their lack of purchase in the last round, they have some options. I mean, they don't necessarily have to go all in on this round. They got such a buffer. Yeah,
oh,
it was. 2 for the price of 1.
Don't see that too often with the Eagles.
We had a scout the other day,
yeah,
didn't
that
we,
was
as well?
Wild.
Was it Wardell? I think it was.
Yeah, Dust 2.
Dust 2, yeah. So they don't go in for the force fight. I like to see this, actually, Dust.
This is what? I can't even believe this. You're telling me that G2 of all teams,
they've learned
conservative with their money?
They've learned, ladies and gents. It's finally happening. This round hasn't been too bad either. At least it wasn't looking too bad. Now, FrenchFrogs are somewhat recovering. That's a good name. Touches down onto Shox. But because they had so many rounds in the bag, now they can really force up with a healthy, solid buy full of grenades, full of all the weapons they could possibly desire.
Yeah, this should be as good as it gets when it comes to purchases. Should be able to get the AWP out on Kenny S. Full utility. Everyone's got Augs. Shocker.
Damage to Logan. Did he get knifed at spawn? I believe he did. He's down to 69. Never ideal in a must-win round.
Look at Shox getting really forward outside. He's been able to catch Maka as well, and he knows that one could be up top, so he's being really smart about staying alive. Can't get away, though. He certainly tried. Kenny S was trying to help him with AWP from the garage, but no one was really giving him anything to look at. He's still here, though. Still going to have to be dealt with.
Kenny with the aggressive peek. Not going to pay off, as really no one was home anyway. Hasn't really been called into action too many times here on Nuke. Hasn't been required. Actually aggressive positioning, waiting for the rest of his team to follow suit. Just 50 seconds left. Jack's now going to take the initiative through on ramp. Logan finds himself lucky.
Did he get spotted? I thought maybe a T inside lobby caught a glimpse of him, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think so.
Either way, he's still showing presence here. Kenny S with the op does get the bomb down already, so now they have to commit to this upper bomb side. There's no way to adjust. Jax now makes his push. Cleans up 2, leaving David P all alone in a 1 versus 3.
He could get Kenny, or Amadeus up top. There we go. But now, with a bomb down, crossing his fingers and hoping for the best, and Kenny S is there to deal with him. Up in hand, 11 map points now.
It's looking pretty close to a done deal at this point. G2 just has to put the finishing touches on the document. FrenchFrogs will have to march 11 in a row just to get overtime at this point, which is where they won when they played against G2 on Nuke on day 1. But this is a much more of an uphill climb to get there. Shox again looking to be aggressive outside. Last time he only got 1 and he was out of there. This time he's got assistance from KennyS's AWP, and he hasn't even been found yet.
That smoke is giving him sanctuary, and KennyS providing the support fire. 2 bodies lost for FrenchFrogs, 3 more to save them. The weaponry on Jinx is pretty grim. The MP5. This kind of range isn't going to do a great deal. Hoping to try and find an AK from one of his fallen brothers. Smoke into main. Going to slightly skew Kenny's vision, but he's going to hop on top of the fence and see if he can maybe catch him on the cross. Connects the shot. How did that do 99 damage?
That's unreal. I don't even know. That doesn't even make sense.
There's no wall there. If you hit him in the leg, it's what, like 87 damage?
That's so weird. I don't even know.
Did it hit him through the grenade? I don't know. Someone give us an answer. David P in the meanwhile, though, with his very low health, is a first in. Trying to be that meat shield for the rest of his team. They don't expect that next. And it's all she wrote. 16-4, convincing, easy. And the revenge has came to fruition.
Oh, production with your music. We love you. Just as much as G2's loving what just happened there on Nuke, they get their revenge, and it's swift. Absolute dominant performance there from the boys over at G2, shaking off some of the woes they've had earlier on in the tournament and showing us a more convincing performance, which is exactly what we need to be seeing from this team at this stage, because they were certainly a team that we thought could go all the way to the finals. I mean, after their EPL performance, and they can go out some of the field, they certainly were in the mix. We got, I guess, like 5 kind of teams in the top 20 here, so it was a little bit up for grabs. We certainly thought G2 could do it, and we'll see if they can go all the way in just a few months as we're bringing Map 2 in just a moment, so stay tuned.